So, what was that moment when you realized that you are just not an attorney, you are also a leader, because which you are.
Yeah, I think when I started writing a lot of articles, and then after a while, I decided to put them together into a book. My first book was a big challenge. It took me 9 years to write.
Wow.
The second book took 6 months, and the third book took about 60 days. So the process does get easier once you figure out that it's not as hard. And of course, with AI assistance now, which I didn't have when I wrote the first two books, it's even changed that even more. So, I think when I started to write, and then, I got a lot of positive reviews from people saying, oh my gosh, this book has really helped me, and it really helped me understand these complex subjects. That's when I felt like, I'd really kind of hit my stride.
Welcome to the Wealth Vibe Show, where we tune into the frequency of wealth creation, protection, and expansion, mentally, spiritually, and financially. I'm your host, Vinky Loomba, and today's episode is one I have been looking forward to for a long time because it's not just about legal compliance, real estate, or raising capital. This episode is about alignment, it's about building wealth with intention, trust, and purpose. My guest today has been on the show before, back when it was called the Real Estate Wife Show. But this is her first appearance on the Wealth Vibe Show, and I couldn't think of a better guest to help us kick things off with this new energy. So Kim Lisa Taylor, my good friend, she's a nationally recognized corporate security attorney, speaker, author of #1 Amazon best-selling book, How to Legally Raise Private Money. She's the founder of Syndication Attorneys, PLLC, and investormarketingmaterials.com. Kim has been the responsible attorney for hundreds of security offerings, helping real estate entrepreneurs raise capital the right way. She's the woman behind the scenes for some of the most compliant and successful capital raisers out there. But today, we are not just talking about the documents, we are talking about what it really takes to build wealth that's not only legal, but aligned. So, Kim, welcome back. I'm super excited to have you first time on our new show with the new branding, the Wealth Vibe Show.
Thank you, Vinky, and congratulations on launching your new show.
Thank you so much for all your help with it. Appreciate it. So, our topic for today is beyond legal lines, wealth alignment, and raising capital with integrity. So, Kim, let's start today with a little bit personal touch with your personal journey. So, let's go back in time for a second. Before your best-selling book, before Syndication Attorneys PLLC, what did your own wealth journey look like? And what beliefs or fears did you have to overcome to step into this role?
Um, well, I had to gain knowledge, first of all. When I first started in the securities world, I was a brand new attorney. I had come from a different profession as an environmental consultant. But in that profession, I was a project manager on some very large projects as a government contractor. And I learned to organize, to manage people, to, coordinate and get large reports and, things done that could be presented to government agencies. We had contracts with the Department of Defense and the Department of the Interior. We did some work at some national parks and things like that. So we had to be able to provide, these professional scale projects. So I brought a lot of that with me into becoming an attorney. And then I had to learn this specific area of the law. So I started out practicing in different areas of the law, some litigation, realized I did not have the right mentality or mindset for that. You have to like to fight and argue, and that wasn't me. So I met an attorney that was doing real estate syndications, Gene Trowbridge. He was my original mentor, and he had been doing syndications for a long time. I worked with him really for a couple of years before I felt comfortable to be able to help clients start structuring deals on their own. And at the same time, I went to every type of real estate training course I could find for, commercial, single family, self-storage, multifamily, all different types of real estate asset classes so that I could learn what my clients were doing, what they were being taught. And then also my husband and I ended up syndicating some multifamily properties on our own. And then we own some vacation rentals now, and we've invested in several different things over the years. So I kind of just, brought all that together. Um, didn't really know when I went to law school what I wanted to do. I just thought that I would use my law school education to run my own business, not realizing that I'd be running a law firm. So here I am. I felt like I had some good business skills and some knowledge that I could share with people. And I like to teach. I like to teach. I have I think, a gift for being able to speak about complex subjects in plain English. I remember my mother told me that even when I was very young. And so I've been able to put that to use also to try to help, ordinary people understand some kind of complex legal subjects that they can use to achieve their goals. So that's been my journey.
So let me ask you this. When and how did you decide from the environmental consultant to become an attorney? That's quite a shift, right? Right there.
Yeah, well, I looked into my future as an environmental consultant, and I didn't like where it went. I could have run an environmental consulting branch office, but I was a geologist, and a lot of the jobs were going to the engineers. I thought they had terrible business skills, but management thought otherwise. And so I just felt like it was always going to be an uphill battle to try to get on par with them. So I thought about going to engineering school. And then I finally decided I would just leapfrog over them and go to law school instead. And then they could work for me. And so I did some environmental consulting for a while. And, I, I did some environmental legal work for a while. And then I found out that those cases are very much litigation oriented and that they go on forever, like, years and years and years and years. And I couldn't do it. I didn't have the attention span, I guess, to make that happen. And then when I discovered syndications and my husband's a real estate investor, so I was always interested in real estate investing. That was one of the reasons I was attracted to him. But then when I met my mentor, and it was all about real estate and putting these deals together, it just seemed like such a much better fit.
That's good. I mean, you found your, I would say, calling, it happens unless it's aligned, you do not get to the success level, whatever you're looking for. And you did that. You have helped so many entrepreneurs raise money, but you have also built something for yourself, a business, a brand, a voice. So what was that moment when you realized that you are just not an attorney, you are also a leader? Because which you are.
Yeah, I think when I started writing, and I started writing a lot of articles, and then after a while, I decided to put them together into a book. My first book was a big challenge. It took me 9 years to write.
Wow.
The second book took 6 months, and the third book took about 60 days. So the process does get easier once you figure out that it's not as hard. And of course, with AI assistance now, which I didn't have when I wrote the first two books, It's even changed that even more. So, I think when I started to write, and then, I got a lot of positive reviews from people saying, oh my gosh, this book has really helped me, and it really helped me understand these complex subjects. That's when I felt like, I'd really kind of hit my stride. And truly, my favorite part of my job now is not writing legal documents. It's, either helping people figure out what they need to do, or, especially people who are doing complex funds or complex structures. I've kind of found a niche in helping people model more complicated funds. So I really enjoy doing that, but also just generally going out and teaching even novice audiences, helping people who've never, ever been exposed to this before, because I sat in their seat before. I was there. I was at an event where I didn't know what a security was, and I learned it. And so I feel like that's been, I guess, where I felt like my talents were best applied.
I know you often say that raising money is about building relationships, not begging for money. So, what do you wish more people knew before they start raising capital?
It's a job. It's not an easy, it's not an easy money. It's not an easy path. And some people just don't have the right personality to be able to talk to people about, investing with them. Some people, think it's a path to easy riches, and it's not. It's a job. And, our clients that have gone on and become very successful at what they do have done it over a 6 to 8 year period of time, with a lot of hard full-time work in between there, and a lot of stops and starts, and maybe some missteps, but always putting their investors ahead of their own interests. So I think, you've got to really, kind of have the right personality for it. If you don't have the right personality for it, you got to get other people in to your team that do, because there's a lot of different jobs that have to be filled, and it's really too big of a job for just one person.
So when you say people do not have the personality, or you're not cut for the job, like a lot of people say that sometimes. So what are some of the characteristics that you look for, or maybe you have mentioned in your book as well? Can you share some with us? Because a lot of people, they take elevator's a speech or elevator pitch, kind of cookie cutter for somebody else, and they just start kind of, reiterating that over and over again with the practice. I think that makes them perfect. But what after that, basically? That's what I wonder sometimes.
So characteristics of people who are really good at raising money is, first, you have to be likable,
Mhm.
be competent, and you have to be trustworthy. And, if you don't feel like you're those things, then there's could still be a role for you in syndication, but it's not maybe the person that's handling the money or talking to investors. Trustworthy, of course, should apply to every single person on the management team, and you don't want anybody in your team that's not. Um, and you never, so you've got to be thinking about, well, likable, that's the kind of person that is really very social, right? They like to get out of their own environment. They like to go out. They're not afraid to walk up to strangers and stick out their hand, introduce themselves, and strike up a conversation. Salespeople, people who have sales training, are sometimes naturals in the capital raising space. um, Competent, that comes with knowledge, right? Competent comes with learning, attending classes, reading books, joining masterminds, listening to podcasts, and really getting to know the subject matter, because you also have to have confidence, right? And the confidence truly comes from learning the subject matter in and out. So that that any question somebody asks you, that you're going to be 90% likely to be able to answer it, and you're not going to feel uncomfortable if you say, well, that's a really good question, I have not heard that before, let me explore that, and you're going to find the right answer. So I think those are the characteristics that are the most important, is being able to be social and have a good social network, and like to do things. If you're the kind of person that wants to stay at home, and you're a homebody, then again, there's places for you in syndication, but you're more likely going to be the underwriter or maybe the person that calls the brokers from home or scours the internet or does other tasks or works with the accountant or the bookkeeper, maybe even the legal. It's you to raise capital, you really have to be a very social person, I think.
You have to go out and kind of pitch like a salesperson, or it's kind of beyond that.
It's not a pitch. It's really just educating.
Mhm.
So the mindset is also huge. Okay. If you
Mhm.
think that you're just selling all the time, people pick up on that and they kind of naturally shy away. It's like how many times do you walk onto the sales lot at a car dealership and you're like, oh no, here comes you're trying to get away from them, right?
Right.
Nobody wants to be pitched to, but everybody's interested in learning something new. Or
Right.
most people are interested in learning something new. So if you see yourself more in the role of an educator than a salesperson, then you're probably going to have more success widening your circle of friends and bringing in people that have never participated in these kinds of deals before. When you are working only with people that have invested in these kinds of deals before, then it is going to be more of a sales pitch. Hey, why should someone invest with you versus this other person that's doing the same thing? Then you're going to have to think about how you're going to make yourself unique. But when you're dealing with your family and friends and people, your peers from your past profession, things like that don't know anything about that, and you're the person that's taken it upon yourself to learn it, and now you're teaching them how it can be beneficial for them. That's a whole different world, and there are a lot of people that have been very, very successful in taking that route.
Mhm. Yeah, and you said knowledge is power because the more you're gonna learn, the more your perception is gonna increase. And when you increase your perception, you're gonna learn even more because you're gonna look at things from many different angles, and you'll be able to explain better. You're gonna be more confident in your space. But let me ask you this question: when people cut corners or wing it, especially on the legal strategy, what's at stake? Can you share a real world example where someone got in trouble but not doing the right thing?
Well, I think that sure, I was at an event where I happened to meet the head of the North American Securities Administration Association. And so this is a group of all of the state securities administrators. And I may have said their acronym wrong, but anyway, the group is NASAA. Okay, and so it's really an association of all of the different state and territorial securities administrators. And I happened to be in an event where I had a conversation with the president of that group, and she asked what I did, and she said, "Boy, I wish so many people would have found you before they got to us." Because a lot of times people just go out and they start trying to raise money, not knowing that there's laws that pertain to what they're doing, that govern the way they do it, who they can ask for money, how they can, what kind of materials they have to provide in order to be able to do it. There's filings that have to be done to notify the states and perhaps the SEC of what you're doing. And if somebody just goes out and starts trying to raise money on their own, they don't really know that. An example is, somebody that came to me and showed me their GoFundMe ad.
Right, I remember that.
For a project they were trying to raise money for. And, when I tried to explain that this isn't, you can't do that this way, and then they thought, well, I'll just take out all the words that say invest and talk about donations and that you might get a bonus. And I said, you still can't do it that way, so you just have to understand, first of all, that there is a set of rules. There's really two things to every capital raise. Okay. One, you have to have the contractual agreement between yourself and investors. So this
Mm-hmm.
piece of paper that you're going to give them that gives them a promise, and in exchange for your promise, they're going to provide capital that you're going to invest in a very specific way, and you have to disclose to them all the ways that the money is going to be used, and what kind of returns, what kind of risks there are associated with that deal, and what kind of rewards, potential rewards, could there be with that deal. But you also have to tell them things about yourself and your team. So you're obligated when you're selling securities to give information, give all of your investors all the information they need to make informed consent. And that means everything about you, everything about the thing you're raising money for, and everything that could go wrong that might affect their ability to get, all or part of their money back, and a return on their investment. You have to talk about how long you plan to keep the money, and all of that. So you're obligated to provide information that's not misleading, that doesn't omit material facts, that lets the investors decide for themselves if this is something I want to take a risk in. Do I like and trust this person? Do I believe that they know what they're doing? And do I trust their team? Do they have experience, if that's important to me? So they have to be able to ask all of the things they want. So you really have to have two things. You've got to have, what is this contractual agreement? Are you offering them a promissory note? Are you offering them interest in an LLC or something else in exchange for their money? And then what kind of legal obligations you have under securities laws that you're obligated to provide them with. So securities laws apply when you're raising money from passive investors. That's the simplest way I can possibly put it. Doesn't matter if you're offering them promissory notes, if you're offering them interest in a company where somebody else is going to be running the company and they're relying on them to make a profit. Those are called securities, in the form of the technical term is an investment contract. Anytime you're selling investment contracts or promissory notes, you're selling securities. And in both those cases, then that triggers having to comply with these securities laws that require you to provide all the material facts. And you must keep people informed of what's going on with their investment. And you must do what you say you're going to do. So most of the times when I read complaints, I get a weekly bulletin from the Securities and Exchange Commission on all the different litigation matters that happened during the previous week. And almost all of the complaints read as, they raised X amount of dollars. They said they were going to do this with it. Instead, they bought expensive cars, took expensive vacations, bought expensive houses, and used the money and didn't invest the money the way they said they were going to invest it. And in many cases, they started raising more money from investors to pay back the previous investors whose money they'd already spent. So you really have to be a person of high integrity and do what you say you're going to do. Don't be tempted by the fact that you have money in the bank account. Even if you have dire need to pay your own bills, that's not your money, that's not yours to spend. You have to earn it just the same as you would if you were working for somebody else.
And the other question that comes to my mind all the time is, because people always partner with others in the syndication business, especially if they cannot raise all the money themselves, they wanted to partner with other capital raisers. And one thing that comes up all the time is like, can I pay my capital raiser a commission? So let's clean the air. What's legal, what's not here?
Well, so the first thing is that being a capital raiser in itself is not a sustainable business. You really need to always examine your motives and make sure that you're not running far afield of your motives. If you start out, on a path to go somewhere, whether it's driving your car or, taking a long journey, whatever it is, you got to always make sure that you stay on the path. And you can easily get sidetracked and deviate and go off in the wrong direction if you don't have a clear vision of what your path is. So if your path and the reason that you're here is because you want to acquire and own real estate for the benefits that real estate has to offer, the appreciation, the depreciation, the tax benefits, all those things, if that's what you want to do, then don't lose sight of that and say, oh, well, I'm going to just do this one piece of it, because you're going to end up in the wrong place. If all you want to do is be a capital raiser, number one, what are you trying to just match people with deals? Well, then go become an investment advisor, right? Or go become a securities broker dealer, which is a huge job all by itself. And then you can earn commissions just for matching investors with deals. If you truly want to be a real estate investor, then you need to learn all the skills associated with being a real estate investor. And if you need to use other people's money to do it, you need to learn the skills to be a syndicator. And again, back to, there's multiple jobs within the syndication space. You've got capital raisers, you've got underwriters, you've got deal finders, you've got people who know brokers, you've got people who know people with money, you've got people that can guarantee loans. You have to find a team and put together a team that can cover all those jobs. Maybe it's 2 people, maybe it's 5 people. I don't ever recommend more than 5 people. But you don't necessarily have to be a capital raiser. When you are just a capital raiser, you're creating a great risk for yourself and for your investors, because first of all, you're relying on somebody else to handle your investors' money, but your investors are looking at you. So that other person whose money you place their money with fails, they're going to hold you responsible, not them. Okay, so it's your reputation you're putting on the line. So you better know how to vet those people, and you better be a really good judge of character to make sure they're not doing all the wrong things, because you're not in control of that money. So if you are a syndicator, then ostensibly you should be in control of the money. You can take care of your own investors. You can't be compensated based on the amount of money that you've raised unless you are a securities broker dealer. If you're an investment advisor, then your investors will pay you to place their money. You won't get paid by somebody who you place the money with. So it's being just a capital raiser, it technically requires a license. If you're going to do it 1 or 2 times, maybe that's okay. But if you're going to be doing this as part of a regular business, you're putting yourself and potentially your investors at great risk. There have been, since I've been in this space, at least 5 different proposals for finders. The last proposal was in the previous Trump administration, right before President Trump left office last time. There was a proposal for finders, but it was limited to accredited investors in one deal. So if you wanted to refer an accredited investor to one deal, or some accredited investors to one deal, and you wanted to get paid some percentage based on the amount of money they invested, then that was okay. You could do that. But it wasn't for people who are going out and constantly finding new deals and constantly bringing new people to new deals and different groups, different syndicators, because that really is, when you're at that point, you are in this to be compensated for matching people with deals, and that requires a securities broker dealer's license. And again, that is a very, very difficult license to get and to maintain. It in itself will become a huge full-time job with lots and lots of compliance requirements. So it's not something that you should strive for. Now, can you be a capital raiser in 2 or 3 deals in order to get into management and learn the ropes so that you can become a good syndicator in your own right? Absolutely. That's a great stepping stone. Hey, let me get into your deal. Let me be in management so I can learn how to do this. Now you've got some credibility. You can start adding that to your resume. You can start building your own track record in management of syndicates. 3 or 4 of those deals. Now you don't need capital raisers anymore. You don't need to be a capital raiser for somebody else's deal. But I will tell you that the people that use capital raisers are the people that are not doing what's necessary to create their own database of pre-vetted prospective investors. They aren't doing what's necessary. So what they end up doing is paying other people who did that job instead of doing their own job. Our clients that have become the most successful in this field are the ones that have 300 to 500 pre-vetted prospective investors in their deals that invest with them again and again and again. Those people can raise millions of dollars in a week if they need to. All the other people that don't have that, they haven't taken the time to vet that group. They haven't taken the time to continue to cultivate those relationships. Those are the people that have to rely on other people. You have to parse out your deal. You have to give away some of the money. You have to make some compromises that it potentially, can impact the way that your deals work or how much money you make off them. And then the final thing I have to say about that is, if you rely on capital raisers to raise money for you, then you're responsible for everything they do. So if they're out there illegally raising money for your 506B offering that doesn't allow you to advertise, but they're putting it all over social media, ultimately that comes back to the entire management team, not just them. You all end up getting dinged for the fact that you did an illegal securities offering. So it's very risky to use capital raisers. It's very risky to be a capital raiser unless you're just using it as a stepping stone to gain some experience so you can go on and do your own deals.
Interesting. So I have two questions for you. The number one is, you talk about documenting pre-existing substantial relationship for 506B raises. For people who are just starting out, how can they authentically build those relationships while staying compliant? And even for the people who are trying to partner with other capital raisers, you just mentioned, they might not have their own vetted database that they can just, go back for every new deal.
It starts with education. So we're back to educating. So you're going out, you're learning how to do this. You need to start sharing that information with other people, sharing the information that you've learned with other people on how this works and how to do it. For instance, we have a mastermind group, and part of a mastermind group is that we give a template, which is kind of an introduction to syndication to our clients that have never raised money before as part of our pre-syndication program. They can use that to explain how syndication works to their friends, family, people that they know who've never been exposed to these kinds of group investments. And so if you start with the mindset of, hey, I'm learning something new that's really interesting to me, and I bet that some people I know might be interested in doing this too if they knew about it. Well, they're not going to go and learn all the stuff that you have, but you can teach them what you've learned and explain to them, hey, here's an alternative to traditional investments. Everybody sees the stock market fluctuate up and down all the time, and so but yet we all see real estate continues to go up. It fluctuates too, but it always goes up, and always goes up higher, higher, higher if you can hold on and wait long enough. It'll always go up. We did a study one time called 100 Years of Multifamily Investing versus the Stock Market. And if back 100 years ago, properties where multifamily and properties exist now, they were worth a lot less then than they are now. And yes, there's been ups and downs, and there's been stock market crashes, but they always go back up. They come down, they go back up. They come down, go back up, and they keep going up, up, up. And so it's just a matter of being able to hold on to it long enough, and then educating your investors how that works. So even the stock market, you don't have any control over what happens with a company, but in a small group investment where there's 10, 20 investors, you might have some more control, you might have some more say, and you still have an underlying asset, as long as you don't get caught in a short duration loan that comes due in an economic downturn, and then you have to sell, or the property gets foreclosed.
Great. So let's shift gears here a little bit. Let's talk about energy. You and me, we both believe that wealth is more than the numbers. It's a frequency. So how does that show up in your work with your clients?
Well, positive energy is infectious, right? If you have positive energy and you exude it and you exude confidence, it doesn't mean you have to drive around in a fancy car. If you're driving around in a fancy car, in fact, that might cause people to be suspicious that you're spending their money on your stuff and not on things for them. But just being positive and upbeat and knowledgeable. I think that those are the clients of ours that I see doing the best. And, willing to just kind of stay the course and plod along and persevere. Those are the clients that seem to do the best.
Yeah, I remember that one example. I met this guy and he had his own plane, like full-fledged plane. He had more than one. I think he had one helicopter too. So when he came to this deal with me, and then we met, like there was 4 or 5 people in the meeting, and then after the meeting, everybody was like, "Oh no, no, no! I don't think we wanted to have any kind of dealing with him because he's, he has a lot of goodies." That we cannot even comprehend, how to work with him, basically. So I think that's the trust issue right there. That's what you're talking about, driving expensive cars. So what patterns do you notice in successful syndicators, not just in their strategies, but in their mindset or presence? Because I have noticed from my experience, when something wrong happens, that's the true reflection of operator or syndicator, because they just go quiet.
Yeah, well, constant communication is huge. First of all, constantly learning and then constantly communicating. It's huge that you constantly communicate with your investors. If something is going wrong in a deal, the worst possible thing is to stick your head in the sand and don't respond to people's calls. In fact, I knew somebody who kind of got stuck in a situation that was created by a partner. And I thought I'd known this person for quite some time. I thought they were a pretty upstanding person. And the partner apparently had been stringing them along. And all of a sudden, the partner exits the deal and they end up kind of holding the bag. And they ended up, I think, getting the worst possible legal advice they could have gotten, which was shut down your phone number, shut down your email, move out of your apartment, and move out of your office.
Oh my God.
And that person, who knows what that person is doing anymore. Had that person said, no, I'm not going to do those things. In fact, I don't want to work with you as my litigation counsel, they probably would still be in this business and they may have been able to make those people whole. So, you have to be 100% transparent. I know people that have had a horrible situation that happened at a property where there was significant wind damage. It damaged multiple buildings at the property. Their estimate for repairs was a couple $1 million. The insurance company said it was a couple $100,000. They couldn't do the repairs, couldn't collect the rent, and they ended up not being able to pay the mortgage. And they said to me, what should I do? And I said, step up your communications. Don't communicate with people quarterly, communicate with them monthly or as things happen. If you have a hearing, they were litigating against the insurance company, tell everybody all the things that you're doing to try to salvage this investment and keep them informed all along the way. And if they have, they can offer suggestions. Obviously, it's the manager's ultimate decision on what they do, but some of your investors are seasoned business people who've been in these situations themselves before. They may have good ideas. They may be able to help you solve problems. So you need to listen to them, tell them what's happening, explain to them all the things that you're doing to try to fix it. And likely, if you do that, you won't get sued. If you stick your head in the sand and you just disappear, you likely will get sued, and somebody will complain to securities regulators about you, and you may not be in this business anymore. So you must be transparent with your investors. You must tell them what's going on. They have assumed the risk. As long as one of the things that happened is something that you told them about in the disclosure documents you are required to give them, then they can't hold you responsible for it. What they can hold you responsible for is not paying attention to the bank account and letting somebody in your management team tick off with the money.
Mm,
You really have to be cognizant of who has control of the money. Don't ever let it be just two related people. Make sure that it's two unrelated people, at least, if not more. Everyone should have, three or four people should have viewing access, and they should be viewing it on a regular basis. Don't just trust. We've all been in situations where that, trust turned out to be false. So you want to make sure that someone is watching the money, and you question every single thing that is out of the ordinary, even if it's just a one-time ATM withdrawal, or something that seems really small and minor, because someone will test the waters. And if nobody says anything, then they'll do it again. Nobody says anything, they'll do it again. And pretty soon you're, many thousands or maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars into the hole. There's a whole thing called a triangle of fraud, where someone has to have access, first of all, and then they have an unshareable need. Okay, the need could be, I need a new car. I have a medical bill,
mhm,
whatever it is. I'm just going to borrow the money, as they're thinking. So they
mhm.
borrow the money thinking, well, as soon as this happens, I'll be able to pay it back. And then nobody says anything. They do it again. They do it again. Pretty soon they realize they can't pay it back. And then they try to justify why they deserved it. Oh, well, I worked harder than everybody else. I did all these things. I'm entitled to it. And, the next thing you know, you're several $100,000 in the hole, and you can't get it back. So everyone in management is responsible for what happens in management.
That's true.
Don't feel like, oh, just because I only brought in a couple of investors and I'm not really the lead person here, doesn't mean that you're not ultimately responsible if somebody takes off with all the money and doesn't do what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, I agree on that 100%. Discipline is must over there. The communication is the number one thing, because all the investors who are investing with you, not like that they have tons of money just because they just wanted to keep on doing whatever they are doing, but they wanted to know all the good, the bad, and the ugly. And then you need to be available for them all the time. Does not matter.
Yes.
Whenever they need you, you gotta be ready for them with the answer. If you do not have the answer, you can always tell them, I can get back to you. Let me find out the answer for you. They're okay with that because they feel like, okay, they're on the driver's seat. So you don't want it to take that away from them. So I'm going to ask you another question now. You are a women leader, right? So many women in this space carry imposter syndrome. They know the stuff, but they question their right to lead. What advice would you give them?
I guess I don't have that. I don't really, that's a concept that I just can't wrap my head around, because, you either are something or you aren't. And, the way you become something is by becoming knowledgeable about it. When you become knowledgeable about it and you know more about it than other people, then you are that thing, right? If you are pretending you know things about things that you don't know things about, then that's actually something completely different. And you shouldn't do that, because your job, if you're going to be in a leadership role, is to truly be a leader and to understand and know what you're talking about. So I think knowledge is the key to all those things. Is once you know your stuff. And I used to believe, I think up until I was in my 40s, I believed that other people knew more about everything than I did, until I finally realized that that was completely untrue, and that I knew a lot
I
more.
agree.
I know a lot more than a lot of other people about certain things, and not everything by any means, but certain things. So yeah.
So if you could wave a wand or your wand and change one thing about how people view legal strategy in this space, what would that be?
Wow. I think just realizing, first of all, that you don't have to become a lawyer, you don't have to know everything, but you do need to get really good at the thing you're doing. And that's really kind of where what I did is, I don't know all things legal. And if you come to me for, some kind of a criminal offense, or I'm not going to try to help you because I would be completely incompetent in that area of the law. I probably would make you get in worse trouble. You know, I mean, if it's related to securities, I could probably help you, but if it's related to some, other matter, probably not. The best advice I could give you is go find somebody with experience in that field. So, we are in a world of niche practices. It's there's so much knowledge in the world today, it's really hard to be a generalist. And so you really have to focus on, what is it you want to do, zero in on that thing, get knowledgeable about it. But the other thing I would say is that there's, of course, we're in the world of AI, which is growing by leaps and bounds. And the thing about AI and legal services is AI is no substitute for legal services by a competent legal professional. And the reason for that is because you don't know the right questions to ask.
That's true, 100%.
And I used to think, oh, it's so easy. I can just go ask this question and I can get the answer. But what I find out is that, well, it's not that easy, because I ask that question and then I read the answer and I go, but wait, what about this? And what about that? And the other thing I realize is that AI often just like inserts things. And I'm like, but wait, you said this. Where does it say in the law that you have to do this? And they're like, oh, yeah, I guess you don't have to. Right. Well, where the hell did that come from?
That's true. Yeah.
You made that up. Stop doing that. Right. And so if you don't know how to recognize things that are wrong, or, I wrote a paper not too long ago about series LLCs. We are doing a lot of series LLCs for people who are kind of doing the repeat kind of offerings over and over and over again. And I've had probably 3 or 4 people in the last month say, well, I can't use a series LLC. You told me I could use a series LLC, but I can't because, this or that state doesn't allow them. And it's like, and of course they've done some AI research, which, they've asked the wrong question. Well, can I use a series LLC in this state? And the answer will come back, no, you can't, because that state doesn't recognize them. But the right question would have been is, how can I use a series LLC in this state? And the answer would have been completely different. And it would have come back and said, well, because you're going to use a title holding entity in the state where the property is located, and it can be owned by the series, and the series LLC can be formed in this state that allows them. And, but if you ask the wrong question, then you're going to get the wrong answer. So
I agree on that 100%. And I agree with you that AI is not the ultimate answer. It's a tool. If you use it as a tool, it's an exponential tool for you, because it's going to tell you your own limitations. If you pay close attention, you're going to learn how to write the right prompt or how to ask the right question. Because what you're doing is you're just using your conversational, like you're talking to people. Sometimes when you hire some company, let's say marketing company, this or that, and you say, oh, it didn't work for me. They do not know what to do, because we expect them to do everything without giving the right directions. So that's what people are doing with ChatGPT. So it's like, garbage in, garbage out, basically. So this brings us to our rapid fire questions. I'm going to ask you 5 questions. You're going to answer it in 1 word or 1 sentence only. Ready? So we're going to go really fast. The first question is, first thing you do when you feel out of alignment?
Meditation.
I like that. Book that changed your view of money?
Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Everybody says that. You're going to tell me a different book.
I think that's the one that actually did change my view of it, because it really had the most profound effect.
That's true. I mean, it changed everybody's lives.
Yeah.
So next question, your personal wealth vibe in 1 word?
Balance.
I like that. 1 underrated legal tool everyone should know?
I don't even know the answer to that one. Use AI with caution.
I like that. What does wealth with intention mean to you?
Perseverance, right? Marching forward in the line of where you want to go, knowing where you want to go, and then creating a path to get there.
Thank you so much, Kim. Every time you come to the show, you leave me with pages of notes. And I know our listeners feel the same way too. So when you came back in I think the Real Estate Vibe show, before that, you came to my Mind, Body, and Entrepreneurship show. So every episode was so powerful. And every time when you came, you just elevated people. And we do have a lot of listeners for those shows. And if you haven't tuned in, you can go back to our show and find the shows with Kim Lisa Taylor, that's filled with golden nuggets. So where can people reach out to you, Kim?
The best way to do that is at our website, syndicationattorneys.com. Also, if you're interested in reading any of my books, there's 3 of them now. This is our latest one, How to Legally Raise Capital for Startups and Small Business, as well as our original How to Legally Raise Private Money, the Beginner's Guide, and How to Raise Capital for Real Estate Legally, which is our desktop encyclopedia that everybody should have on their desk. If you want to find those books, you can get digital copies at our website, syndicationattorneys.com. Just go for free books, or you can buy them on Amazon. Just look up my name, Kim Lisa Taylor.
Thank you again, Kim. This was such a wonderful conversation. And for everyone who's listening, wealth isn't built in spreadsheet, it's built in relationships, in energy, in trust. And when you align your integrity with your ambition, that's where the real magic happens. So until next time, keep raising the frequency of your wealth. This is the Wealth Wife Show. Bye for now.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Vinky.
Thanks for tuning in to the Wealth Vibe Show. If you enjoyed the episode, be sure to subscribe and leave us a 5-star review. And don't forget your free gift. Download the Busy Professional's Guide to Real Estate Investing at loombainvest.com. See you next time with another amazing guest and another powerful conversation.